Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. Today we are going to discuss about the process of perception in psychology. What happens during the perception and how we are able to process certain things, how our senses send sensory information to brain and how it gets organized in our brain. So we are talking about the process of perception. Let's start. Perception. It's a complex cognitive and psychological process through which we select, organize, and interpret sensory information to give meaning to our environment. It is how we create our subjective reality from the objective world. So perception, it is totally a psychological process, whereas sensation, it is the physiological process. Because in sensation, what happens? All the physical energy, it changes from the perceiving factor to the psychological process, that is perception. So you can see here this two-person, they saw a picture of a number, and one is telling this is 6 and other is telling it's a 9. So yeah, both can be correct because the place where they are sitting and looking can differ. So both are correct here. So they are not wrong. But when this person comes to here, he will also see it as a 6. And when this person go to that place, he will also perceive it as a 9. But what happens is it's a complex cognitive and psychological process. If our information is not organized, then definitely we are not able to perceive correctly. So firstly, there must be enough sensory information to perceive anything correctly. So, talking about the process of perception, we are talking it in the three stages of perception. First process is stimulation, sensation, and selection. So, here, when we talk about the stimulation, the process begins when a stimulus in the environment, that is light, sound, smell, touch, and taste, is detected by one of our five sensory organs. So first process of perception is a stimulation. So in a stimulation, in this process occurs when a stimulus in the environment. So what can be stimulus? It can be light also, it can be sound also, smell, touch, or taste. It is detected by our five sensory organs. Then selection or attention is needed. That is because when we are constantly bombarded with huge amount of sensory information, our brain must immediately filter and select what to focus. There are lots of people around, but you are able to identify your friend. How? Because of the selection. So this is often an unconscious process called selective attention. We tend to focus on things that are, example, noticing a food when you are hungry. So first process is stimulation, sensation, and selection. Next process is organization. Once selected, the sensory input is organized into meaningful patterns and wholes. The brain uses perceptual principles, often based on Gestalt psychology, to structure this information. So, what were the key ways to organize information include like figure ground. Maybe you have seen a figure of a woman where you can see the old lady also and young lady also. So if you are able to focus on a certain object, that is figure, and if you are missing certain object from that focused object, that is ground. And next is grouping principle, like organizing a stimuli based on proximity. Proximity means nearness, based on similarity, based on continuity and closure. And next one is schemas or scripts using mental frameworks, past knowledge and experience to quickly make sense of the new information. You have met a friend and you have mental image of that friend. So next time when you meet him or her, you are able to identify how it is happening because of the mental framework. So firstly, there is stimulation, sensation, and selection, and then there is organization. So I was talking about the figure ground. concept. So in this figure, what can you identify here? Maybe some of you are identifying a old lady and some of you are maybe finding the young lady. So if you are able to identify old lady, that means that is figure for you and all the rest of the things are ground. But if you are able to identify a young lady, that young lady is figure for you and other thing are ground for you. So this is the concept of figure and ground. And if you see here, it's about the proximity, this is about the similarity and closer. Look at the closer concept. What you can see a triangle or tree like a structure. Also you can see different circles which is blocked by a triangle. So what you can perceive, and talking about the area, the symmetry, so what you perceive is more important. And talking about the schemas, mental framework, there are so many things in your brain, but you are able to select some of the things, why it is happening, how you are able to recognize the different kind of object. So this is because of the schemas or the mental frameworks that's organized in your brain. Next one is interpretation and evaluation. So these stages where we assign meaning to organize sensory information. We use our past experience, expectations, needs, and cultural background to interpret what a stimulus represents. So percept means this is the final mental representation or meaning we give to our stimulus, like seeing a grouped lines and interpreting it as the word cat. So if you see this structure, this figure, what happens to your mind? You are already a grown up, right? But to a nursery child, it might be new. The sensation can be new, but we are in the stage of perceiving. We are at that age where we are able to identify. How you are identified, this is the cat. So once you start to make this figure, like as you might have done it in a small classes also. So once you identify and make this figure, you are able to predict it as a cat, right? But you can predict it beforehand without underlining this dots. So how is that happening? Because you already have this mental representation of the cat. So this stage highlights the subjective nature of the perception. Two people can experience exact same stimulus and interpret it differently based on their internal filters. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you want to know more about this topic, you can go through the following link or you can go through the different website. And if you like this channel, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching.